Have you been working on your relationship for a long time with alcohol? Maybe you've been thinking about it for years, hoping and trying to make changes? Well, this question's for you. My name is Carolina, and I am an alcohol free life coach and founder of Euphoric. And Euphoric is a space for anyone to reevaluate the role of alcohol in their lives. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m., I take questions from my students from Become Euphoric and Become Emboldened to answer your deepest challenges and also attest to your greatest hopes and dreams. And today I have a question. Actually, it doesn't come from a Become Euphoric student. It comes from someone else in the Euphoric community, and I wanted to answer it because it weighs a lot on my heart. You know, when you've been thinking about the role alcohol plays in your life and your drinking habits and whether or not they're making you happy, this thinking process takes years. It really, truly does. It takes years. And maybe you're trying to drink less, maybe you're trying to take breaks, maybe you're trying to make changes, maybe you have some success, maybe you have some failure, and it just keeps going on and on and on, and you feel like you're still going in the same hamster wheel. And I really want to address this question because there's this point that you reach that you're just like, should I just settle? Should I just stop worrying about this? Should I just give up? Should I just drink and not care so much about changing my relationship with alcohol? Should I just let this go on? Right? And it's almost like, it's not like you're trying to get yourself off the hook, but it's almost as if like there's a defeatedness to it. There's a defeatedness, like I've tried everything, nothing works, I should just give up, and who cares so what if I drink, Personally, I was a gray area drinker, which means, if you've heard that term before, there's a huge spectrum of drinkers out there. There's not just a black and white. Most of our drinking habits are very unique to us and very, very varied. And most of the time, drinking on the side of the road in a ditch is just not our experience. We drink in the middle most often. And, when you're drinking in the gray area, oftentimes there aren't very, very big consequences in your life. For example, I drank mostly around the weekend. I never drove, like in all future predictions, like looking forward, if I would have kept drinking, probably wouldn't have gotten any DUIs. I probably wouldn't have gotten arrested. I probably wouldn't even had too many health scares. Probably would just slowly diminish my life longevity, expectancy. It would have probably been okay, right? It would have probably been okay. And that's the thing, is that a lot of times when you're in that gray area, it's like the motivation to change isn't because things are bad enough. It's asking yourself, are they good enough? Are they good enough, right? I look at my years I've had now alcohol-free, and I, for the first time ever, stopped achieving society's goals, stopped achieving what traditional success looked like, and started searching deep into my heart about what I really wanted for my life. What I really hope to accomplish, what I really have put on the someday back burner and never thought was possible for me. I started reliving, returning those dreams and those goals from my heart, and I started going after it. If I didn't go alcohol free, I would have never, ever, ever, ever in probably a million years become an entrepreneur. I would have never launched my own business. I would have never left the corporate world. I would have never, ever, ever been my own boss. I would have never, ever, ever written a book. I would have never, ever, ever gotten a book deal from HarperCollins. I would have never, ever, ever grown an impact-making, life-changing business that touches other people's hearts and changes their lives. I would have never probably spoken on a video. I would have never done so many things. I would have never challenged myself to feel all my emotions. I would have never challenged myself to make new friends with soul seekers around the world. I would have never challenged myself to a half marathon. I mean, all these things that I've done ever since I became alcohol-free were just someday goals. I just didn't think they were viscerally possible for me. It just wasn't my experience to have them. They were for someone else. My biggest hopes and dreams back before when I was still drinking was move up in my career slowly but surely and, make this like picket fence kind of life for myself, which always felt like it was given to me from someone else, someone else's goals. Get an MBA, I did that, right? Like go and work in a business school, I did that. Get a master's degree, I did that. Do these things and get married and have all this like traditional levels of success. I did all that, but I never answered the call of what I wanted, what I truly wanted and needed in my life. And there's a fundamental reason why I'm so passionate about helping people transform their relationships with alcohol is because it's not about a beverage at the end of the day. I don't care what you drink at the end of the day. I don't care what's in your glass. What I care about is, are you awake to your bigger dreams? Are you awake to your life? Are you awake to all of your emotions, which are trying to teach you something, that are trying to tell you things about your life and where you need to make shifts? You can't do that when you're numbing your emotions. You can't do that when you're snoozing on your life goals and settling into a comfort zone day or week after week. Alcohol does not allow us to reach into our deepest intuition and our hearts of hearts and get the courage to go after our dreams. I know it didn't for me. And I know that it does, going alcohol free does allow you to do that because I've witnessed it. It's not just my success story I've seen hundreds of stories where women and men become awake to their bigger dreams and their deepest goals and their deepest values as well about how they want to live their life. What kind of mothers do they want to be? What kind of community members do they want to be? What kind of brothers and sisters and daughters and sons do they want to be? Really living integrity with who they want to be in this world and not just wishing they were and constantly falling short. It has been the fastest road to the biggest dreams because going alcohol free gives you that intuition and connection with your inner guide to actually know what you really want. Here's the thing. Alcohol tricks us because it releases this huge amount of dopamine in our brain and we equate it with a sense of happiness. But have you ever asked yourself, well, what organically makes me happy? What actually makes me happy? Trust me, it's not a fermented beverage in a glass. That's just tricking your brain, just like cocaine does, just like heroin does. What really makes you happy? What organically brings you joy? What are your true passions? And you would have asked me that a few years ago, it would have been really hard for me to answer because I didn't know. I felt really aimless. I knew I wanted to do something different with my life, but I had no idea what. And I had no idea what I was passionate about. And there's a reason for that. It's because every single time I drank, I cut off the connection with my inner guide. I cut off the connection with feeling my emotions. I cut off the connection with truly listening to my intuition and my creativity. I numbed it and I dulled it and I literally withdrew from life. I literally went back and sat in my little comfort zone. And I don't want to vilify comfort zones, right? Like, there's a reason why we're attracted to comfort zones, and we'll find comfort zones in all kinds of different behaviors. It could be eating too much. It could be scrolling on social media for hours on ends. The comfort zones are there for us to be able to, turn off from life. But when you keep doing that day after day, week after week, your comfort zone becomes a life of regret. Your comfort zone becomes somewhere you never leave, and you're scared to go have the dreams for yourself. Your comfort zone becomes the pain, not the pleasure. Right? And so this question of should I just settle tears my heart. It really does. It breaks my heart. Because you know what? On one end, there's this idea of I want to eliminate pain from my life. And so that motivates us, right? We have a lot of pain around alcohol. It's going to be easier to change sometimes. And when there's not as much pain, you're going to have other intrinsic motivation. And so if you want to just settle, maybe there's not enough pain. And the heartbreaking part of that is that there's also a complete curtain between you and who you could be. You can't even see it. You don't even know what's possible. You don't even know what's possible when you start reliving the dreams you had as a little girl, when you start writing again, when you start publishing your recipes, when you start launching a business or a nonprofit or whatever your heart desires. Maybe it's to quit your job and travel around the world. There's so many different desires. They're so unique to you, and they're unique to you for a reason. They're unique to you because you were always meant to go after them. They literally, think of your dreams as a spirit, as in something that's not even connected to you, a spirit that came from somewhere else and came to you. It chose you to go achieve and go after them. It chose you to write this book. It chose you to launch this business. It chose you to run this half marathon. It chose you to have this message and to help other people. It chose you. So who are you to say oh, that's for someone else. That's for someday. That's for, when I get out of my comfort zone and have the courage to actually go after that. If you are here, you have a greater motivation and message from your deepest intuition. You want to transform your relationship with alcohol and therefore transform your whole life. And you wouldn't have that call on your heart if your heart didn't know that you were always made for more, that you were worthy and you were made for everything you've ever desired, that you have such a light inside of you, that you are meant to shine and help other people. This has always been your calling. This has always been why you're here. And yet we dim that light, we numb that light, we dull that light because it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And you know, when you've tried for so long, this is the thing. And this might sound a little harsh, but let me give you an analogy. Sometimes we intellectually know what to do. We intellectually know what we're supposed to do. And so we think we know. We think that we've tried everything. We think that we've been working on it for so long because we intellectually know what to do. And this is a little harsh, but you know, I actually heard this from someone else. If you're not doing it, you don't know. If you're not actually doing it, what you want to see changed in your life, then you don't know anything. And it sounds harsh, but think of it this way. Let's take the concept of like getting fit and losing weight. The diet industry wants to make us think that it's really complicated. The diet industry poses all these different questions like, well, what portion of macronutrients do you need? How many carbs versus how many proteins? Should you be eating omega-6s or omega-3s? Should you be vegan? Should you be keto? Should you be paleo? Like, right? Like the diet industry is there to literally confuse us and make it the most complicated subject in all of history. Should you lift weights? Should you do cardio? Should you blah, 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 on and on and on. There's all these new products, all these new philosophies, all these new theories all the time just to confuse us. But at the core of it, at the heart of it, we all know how to lose weight. You have to eat less than you're burning every day. You have to eat less calories than you burn. That's it. There's no other like secret recipe to it. You have to eat less than you burn every single day. And obviously there's some strategies to help people through that, but that is it. We intellectually know that. And yet how many of us are doing that? And I don't want to point any fingers because this is something I struggled with for years. For years, I intellectually knew how to do it, but I wasn't doing it. And so oftentimes when you're trying so hard to change your relationship with alcohol, it feels like you've been thinking about it for years, and you probably have been. You've probably been thinking about it for years and years and years, and yet you're not seeing the changes you want to make. But to think that you've actually, just because you intellectually know what needs to be changed, is a whole different story from actually doing the action steps to change. And maybe you've tried some action steps, and that's where I honestly want to congratulate you. But trying one thing or two things is not enough. I mean, this is your dream life we're talking about. We should be throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, this is not the time to give up. If you could have your dream life because you have to try a few more times, like, what's going to be worth it or not? You know, like sometimes in other areas of my life that are challenging, I will like feel frustrated and I'll just be like, oh my gosh, I've tried everything. Nothing works. I can't figure this out. Why is this so hard? And then I stop myself and I think, okay, Carolina, how many things have you actually tried? 4 things? 5 things? That's not everything. I haven't tried everything. That's 4 or 5 things. There's still hundreds of things for me to try. I mean, look at like someone like Thomas Edison. He tried 1,000 different patents or combinations and inventions until he finally got electricity right, until he finally created the light bulb. Thousands. I mean, most of us would have given up after 4 or 5, right? And just been like, oh, this isn't for me. I don't know how to make a light bulb, whatever, you know? The most successful people on our planet have failed hundreds and hundreds of times, and their success is only a measure of how many times they've gotten up again and persevered after they've fallen. Every single time you fall or fail or slip, you learn something. You learn something. There's only one way that you get competent and you get success. It's after having experience. And there's only one way you get experience. It's trying and failing. So let yourself continue trying. You have not tried everything, right? Like, this is worth it because your heart has been telling you it's worth it. It's worth discovering your dream life. And feeling self-love for yourself and feeling self-worth for yourself and being happy in your skin and feeling full integrity with who you are and living life according to your deepest values. This is all worth it, and you are worth it. And you know that because you're here. You're here. Your heart's been telling you you want this change. And even if it's taken months to get or years to get, you've been trying for so long or you've been thinking about it for so long, it's still worth it because you're here and you know that you're made for more. You know that. And you've probably had some wins that you like need to celebrate right now. Maybe you have taken breaks from alcohol that have gone on weeks and even like, if not just days, like you need to celebrate that. You need to celebrate every single small win as a sign that yes, I can do this. And every single small win is stacking up on each other. Even if they're not happening consecutively, They are stacking up on each other. Now, here's the thing. You don't want to look at this, want to give up, I'll just drink like everyone else, whatever, that's fine. But what happens when you're 90 years old and you look back on the life that you could have had? I'm not talking about the pain that you need to escape, because sometimes that's not a motivator. Sometimes a motivator of how bad things can get is not really enough, especially if you're in that gray area of drinking. You have to ask if you're going to settle for this good enough, for this illusion of good enough. You're going to have to ask yourself if you're going to settle for letting parts of your soul slowly die because you're not living out your full potential. You're going to ask yourself if you're going to settle because you're not going to go out and do the work that you need to do to find your true passions. Are you going to settle because you're going to let a drug trick you into thinking you're happy instead of actually going out and finding what brings you organic joy? You're going to have to ask yourself what you're going to feel like when you're 90 years old and you look back at your legacy and you think to yourself, wow, all I did was get a paycheck and make sure that like my bills were paid. And I got by every weekend by drinking. Like, these are the deeper questions, and I don't say these to like strike the fear of God into your heart, but ask yourself, what's worse? Trying and trying and trying and trying and trying until maybe you finally get it right, like the most successful people in the world have. That's always been the path to success. Or settling and giving up and living a life full of regret. Which one is going to be more painful? You know, there's this theory that everything in the universe is either growing or dying. I don't think it's a theory. I think it's pretty true, right? Like, a tree is either growing or it's dying. The stars in the universe are either expanding or contracting. They're growing or dying, right? Us human bodies are either growing or dying. What happens to our spiritual growth? What happens to our emotional growth? What happens to our intellectual growth if we're continually pressing pause and retreating to our comfort zones and numbing out all of the emotions, thoughts, and feelings that are supposed to guide us to grow? What happens when we stop working on ourselves because we want to distract ourselves from our thoughts instead of actually getting to know who we really are? What happens when you're constantly saying, like, I don't want to deal with the hard stuff, and not uncovering who you intrinsically are, what you intrinsically want in this world, and what you really need? You know, for so long, we think that alcohol helps us meet some of our very basic needs for comfort and security, needs for adventure and risk, our needs for significance and glamour. And the sad thing is that we do that so misguidedly because we've tried it. We tried it and we've lived that life for decades and years and decades and years, and it doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite meet the needs that we have on our heart because there's that our intuition telling us we're made for more. We are made for more than settling. Settling doesn't feel good. Humans have been born to strive and to thrive and to grow themselves, just like everything else in this universe. And the thing is like, bad enough might not motivate you, but is it good enough? Is your spiritual growth where you want it to be? Is your emotional resiliency and capacity where you want it to be? If you're always numbing your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, it's like you're stunting yourself. There's this saying that whenever you start drinking is actually the age that you are emotionally, because you never worked through all of the life happenings and circumstances that were supposed to grow and evolve your soul. Problems are meant to evolve and grow your soul. So think of this problem or this challenge as something that's going to grow your soul and help you discover and determine what your true passions and purpose is on this planet. I mean, this is big stuff. This is big stuff, big, beautiful stuff. And it doesn't have to ultimately have anything to do with what beverage is in your glass. This is about being alive to your life, alive to your passions, alive to that drive, that beat of your heart that's telling you you've been made for more, that you are worth this, you are worth this work. I don't care if it's taken 10 times and you've tried a few days off here, a break here, whatever. I don't care if maybe you had a few months and then all of a sudden you went back to alcohol and it's like really hard right now. I don't care if you've been listening to podcasts for the last few years. What we intellectually know is not the same as action. Just like I shared with that diet example with losing weight, what we intellectually know is not the same as actually doing it. And there's no way to actually do it other than just trying and trying and trying and failing and trying and failing and getting up again and failing and trying and getting up again until you do succeed, until you do master this area of your life, which will open up so many doors, will open up so much vibrancy and energy and enthusiasm for your one life. If you're asking yourself if you should settle, to me, that just is like the death of your soul, the death of potential. I know because there's many times in my life when I felt that way. I felt like I should just give up. And it wasn't always about just alcohol. It was thinking about like my trajectory of my legacy and my mission on this planet. I was like, you know what? This job is easy. I'll just keep doing this. It'll be nice and easy. It'll be nice and good. I won't have to push myself. I won't have to get outside my comfort zone. I won't have to have any courage. I won't actually have to try to go for my dreams and possibly fail. So much easier to just sit back. It's so much easier to open a bottle of wine and watch the latest Netflix show than write the next great American novel. It's so much easier to open a bottle of wine than work through the emotions that have been there to teach you how you need to evolve. It's so much easier to open a bottle of wine than actually make true connections and growth with your loved ones. It's so much easier to open a bottle of wine than work through some of the deeper fears and dreams on your heart. Dude, this stuff is scary. I get it. I know it's scary. Not only are we scared of failure, we're also scared of success. We are. We're scared what will happen if we succeed. What will people think of us? Will we lose belonging with the tribe? Will we lose acceptance? Will we outshine other people? Will we become lonely succeeders in a sea of other people who just don't get us and understand us anymore? We are terrified of success. We are terrified of our own light. But here's the thing. You have a bright burning light. You were always meant to shine on this world because you have a gift that nobody else on this planet has. Nobody. There's never been anyone like you who's ever lived with your experiences, with your perspective, with your personality, with your skills. Nobody. And you have a gift that you were meant to share with this world. And even when you go into those dark spaces to heal yourself, to learn about yourself, to figure out yourself out, to find what truly makes you happy that's outside of a beverage, it might seem dark and hard. It might seem scary and dark, but it's not dark because you're the light. You're bringing the light with you into those areas. You have the courage to do this. You have everything inside of you that you need to figure this out. It might take multiple tries. It might take continuing to peel back the layers, continuing to learn about yourself and figure your stuff out. There's so much that goes into a relationship with alcohol. We have the power of habit. We have the addictive nature of drinking. We have conditioning from society and all these constructs that we believe that alcohol makes us feel glamorous and that it's romantic and it's the epitome of all experiences. Those are more normal things, right? And then you add your own unique relevance. What limiting beliefs did you attach on alcohol a long time ago? What problems did it solve for you a long time ago? How did you fall asleep at the wheel when you started drinking as a teenager and just never woke up and never asked yourself if there's more and better for you? What maybe pains are you hiding through it? There's obviously, we all have different pains and traumas that we've gone through, and that might attach relevance to it too. And maybe we're also just drinking because we're fundamentally unfulfilled with our lives, and so we use alcohol to cover that fact up. And it's just this endless spiral downward because the more unfulfilled we feel, the more we drink. And the lower our self-esteem, and then we feel more unfulfilled, so then the more we drink. There might not be enough pain in your life, but the death of your potential should be enough pain. The death of who you really could be if you actually promised yourself 100%, I'm going to keep trying until I die. And I don't mean just trying to figure out your relationship with alcohol. I mean going after the life you really want. Going after the feeling you want in your skin. Going after the relationships you want. Going after the dreams on your heart and the values that are important to you. When you give up on that, that's the death of your potential. And a slow part of your soul does die. You were meant to grow. You were meant to push yourself. You were meant to love yourself. You were meant to know how worthy you are. And you were meant to shine a light on other people and bring your gifts to this world. You probably could help hundreds of people from your vantage point. Hundreds of people. And you were meant to do that. So when you ask yourself if you're going to settle, look, I know it's been hard. I know you feel like you've tried a lot of things. So did Thomas Edison. He tried a lot of different things, right? What would happen if he just gave up? Is settling really, really going to make you feel happy ever? I think your intuition has a stronger answer for you. If you get really quiet, if you allow yourself moments of solitude, if you allow space with your journal, you're going to know what your heart wants you to do, where your heart is calling you for, because it's been calling you for more. It's been calling you for more, and whatever that means for you, it's meant for you. I know it's scary. I know it takes a lot of work, but you can do it. You've done a lot of hard things already in this lifetime. I believe in you. I'm rooting for you. And I can't wait to see how far you'll go when you take faith over fear, when you allow yourself to peel back the layers and figure this out. It's not easy to figure out. Like I said, this relationship with alcohol has so many different things thrown in the bag about why it's so complicated. But it's worth figuring out. It really is. It's so worth it. Yesterday I was driving home from getting some food for dinner, and I just stopped and looked at the cloud formation, and just this like wall of overwhelm just hit me. Like just complete, utter gratitude hit me of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm living this life. I can't believe I'm living this life. This life was undreamable for me a few years ago. I can't believe I get to have this body and these experiences and this way of manifesting my gifts and the loved ones I do and everything I have. Like, it just hit me, and it was so, so beautiful, and I was just overwhelmed immediately with tears. You deserve experiences like that, and you will have them when you remove the things that are not serving you and form that deeper connection with your soul and your intuition. You've been doing that already, and I just wanted to get that clear and a deeper connection for you. This is our life's mission, to know ourselves, to listen to our deepest, highest self, and to follow the voice of faith over fear. So I hope for anyone who needed that today, that was helpful. And please join me next Wednesday at 8 a.m. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to use the form in your course to do so. I'm rooting for you.